Alright, welcome to episode 4 of the backyard compound, except there's one jump. Getting to sort of the pointy end of the build now. Things are really taking shape. Follow along as we build the takeoff. That's what this episode is all about, building this takeoff. Right here, hold up, Kevin's over here in the tree and he's just chilling. Come check this out. What's going on? Oh, yep. Right. Mad dog. Alright, so this episode, it all starts with this plank of wood, which I've used to make the radius. It's got a story of its own, you know? So I thought I'd fill you in on the story behind that piece of wood. Yeah, here's the plank of wood, the day I found this plank of wood. I was driving to the shops after work, saw it on the side of the highway. Actually no, the fucking middle of the highway. There's a massive plank of wood just across the lane. I was like, oh yeah, fair enough, whatever, someone's dropped a load. Went and did my shopping. Whole time shopping, I'm like, dude, I need to go back and get that piece of wood. Looks like good wood. So rushed through my shopping, probably forgot to buy bread or something. Pinned it back home, stopped on the highway, that plank of wood is still there. So I cross this dual carriageway, pick up this massive plank of wood, put it in my little hatchback and take it home with me. So here's a video of that bit of wood in my hatchback. First time I picked it up. You can see it's like from the boot all the way to the windscreen. It was like that far away from the windscreen. When I was braking, I had to put my hand on it so it didn't go through the windscreen, you know. And yeah, that's where I found this nice plank of wood. I had no intentions of building a backyard ramp at that point, but had a cool piece of wood, you know. From there, I like used it as a workbench, you know, like drilling holes and stuff. I'd put that down, drilled like a bunch of holes in the wood just because I thought it was scrap at that point. There's like a photo of me drilling a hole in some metal and another photo of it. Here's like another photo of when I set up a swing set that I'd salvaged. I actually salvaged this swing set to use as a landing. I was planning like a scaffold landing sort of thing with wood on it, but in the background there you can see the plank of wood as a workbench once again. Yeah, that happened a bunch of times, heaps of different projects, just use that bit of wood. Then there's another time where just got a new carburetor for my car. I was installing that, need to prime it, filled it with fuel, fucking car caught fire extinguisher in the engine bay, all down my brand new carby. Not ideal, mate. Fucking shaking, dude. Oh well, it was nearly running. The whole fucking bowl was just on fire. Fucking pin out of this thing at first. Oh. So that was prime, but yeah, because I'd sprayed fire extinguisher in my car, it's like acidic or something. Had to take the car out the garage. There's a gutter in my garage that I can't push it over because my brakes are seized. So I used the plank as a ramp, as a loading ramp sort of thing. Towed my car out the garage so I could hose it down, hose all that fire extinguisher out of the engine bay, stop it from rusting. So yeah, there's another use for that plank of wood. That was terrifying that day. It's like not only the car goes up, but the house would have gone up. Really small fire, but still terrifying. Oh yeah, this one, my skate park edit 2024 called Emergence. The intro clip for Emergence, I got that nice little scene which I'll play here for you. That's like the plank of wood right there with cardboard letters cut out, sprayed them in fuel, set it on fire to spell out emergence, you know, pretty cool intro scene. But yeah, that's also on the same plank of wood, which is right here. That's the background for that intro. This plank of wood yeah, pretty crazy find on the highway. You know, I always keep an eye out when I'm driving highways, just see there's free shit around. Life gives you lemons, make lemonade, but all the lemons are free. You should go seek them out and make some cool lemonade. You know, great plank of wood. Oh, dude, like 2.4 meters or something. It was long and like an inch thick, a foot wide, like a painter's scaffolding plank, you know. You stand up on your plank and paint the ceiling. Good bit of wood. Some poor guy just dropped it off his trailer on the highway. I was doing a favour, clearing up the road, stop people damaging their cars. I was also winning, you know, piece of wood that size when the only free stuff around is pallets really, and they're like a set size of shit wood. So I think that's it about the plank of wood, really. Long story short, cool piece of wood. So here's a picture of that plank of wood after I'd cut it up to make the radius. Basically, it's only that wide, but I've cut a bunch of arcs like that all the way through it and patched all those arcs together. Really the proper way to do it is have like a short radius on the inside curve and a long radius on the outside curve, but I just made the outside radius the same as the inside, which over that much you can't really tell the shape's different, but that means I can like stack them. So I got a whole takeoff of radius out of 2.4 meters, just like layered arcs, if you know what I mean, over a rectangle, that like a long rectangle. Got all those arcs, stacked them, then I like put little wedges to make the angle perfect, and then just little bits of pallet slat to patch it all up and reinforce it. So I did that both sides, and we've got this radius up this side and that side. I'll show you a close-up of that at the end of the video. 2.4 meter radius I used, which is actually really good, sort of like a chill radius, but needs to be a bit higher than I want it to be, but that's whatever. Alright, let's roll into like the build lapse, where time-lapsing the assembly of this ramp and start from there. Try and do it real time. So here's like the ramp with the patches that I was talking about, the photo of that. Starting it off, lining up my two radii, get them all level, sort of square. Need to trim off a bit because it was like 90 degrees at the top. Cut through that. The slats I use in the next clip, I had to pre-make them. I just made all 7 of them off camera. That's the second time I used the tape measure. The first time I used the tape measure was doing the radius, second time for the slats. You see me like going like this in the video. That's me using my arms as a protractor, trying to work out angles. Needed halfway in this arc, and I needed thirds as well, so just full eyeballing it, you know, that's pretty cool. Balancing these slats while I was like screwing it all in was a pain. It was like wobbling around and stuff, but made it work. Flip it over to the top, it like started gaining some structure there, more protractor arms. So once I've got all these like slapped the horizontal in, flipped it again. I was working with like a 4mm plus or minus tolerance. I didn't plan that, that's just what it turned out to be between all my width pieces. Some were 8mm longer than others, and that gap showed up at the end. That's sort of just as good as I could get it, but it worked fine. Alright, so here the chassis is done. Lay it down, lay the ply over it, try and get it all to balance and be square, just so it doesn't like twist as I lay it all down. The ply is too thick, it's like 12mm ply. It wouldn't flex without snapping, so what I've done is got the garden hose, wet the whole thing, got like bricks, cinder blocks, tires, all that to weigh it down and let it like shape overnight, because ply is like layers glued down, so if you soften that glue it can like slip and like make that arc nice and good. So left it for like good 12 hours just wet, kept going back every half an hour to spray it down. There would have been like 60 kilos of weight on there. Here's a couple pictures from overnight, just how it was set up, weighing down, and like you can see the gap that I'm trying to close up. The next morning, when it's all like sitting there ready to screw down, the higher part, the top part of the ramp wouldn't crush enough because the weight's diagonal, so gravity is like that way but it needs force that way. So I flipped the whole thing around, then I've got the top at the bottom and the weight's going down with gravity, closed that gap up, made it like screw down all flush and even. Started moving the bricks around, screwing shit down, getting it all secured. There was one spot, it was about here I think, no here, this side because it's upside down. Drilling in, barefoot, you know, drill comes off the screw. Fucking Phillips head in my toe, man, like just down the side on the inside, cut me up pretty good. It is what it is when you fuck around and find out. That was like a good 20 minutes, went upstairs, hobbling around, blood coming out, wrapped it up, tape, bandage. Learned my lesson there, so from like here on out I'm wearing safety pluggers. You don't really want to damage your foot, so put some thongs on. Yeah, once you got like tape and band-aids around your toe you can't really put shoes on, so just put some thongs on. It's fine. Yeah, all good. And then here's some pictures of it finished, like propped up on the wheelie bin, sort of gauging the angle. That was all the very first thing I did. I hadn't done any of the landing, none of that you've seen already. That was the first thing. I parked that up, come and built the landing, and then I've brought that back afterwards to set up on legs. So here's like a couple weeks later, setting up the ramp in the backyard where it's meant to be. This is the only bit of audio I filmed in this episode in like real time. So listen up, listen to what I got to say, then back into more time lapse. Alright, this is where we're at. It's the next weekend. Had a few days of rain. Let's have a look at the landing. It's definitely looking pretty solid now, which is sick. Today we're going to be standing this thing up on legs. I think right there's pretty much the exact spot we want it. So just going to lay some legs in place while it's sitting here on the wheelie bin, and then flip it and build a frame for it. Should be sick. Got my mate coming around. So yeah, let's get into that. Alright, so first thing we're doing is like eyeballing the legs, just trying to get them level, the right angle and matching each other. Got them secured pretty good, flipped it over, and that's where we build the whole structure from, that's our reference for level. Then you can see us putting in the first couple of legs to support that, like here. Got the first leg on, and then the second leg was like a perfect match, but not a match somehow. That's just what you get when you're doing like eyeball stuff, so they're uneven. And then we put the first width brace on upside down. Had to almost got too far, took it off, put it back on the right way because you want it flush on like the ground surface. We had it on the wobbly whatever. Yeah, that's pretty much all we did that day, me and my mate, just like up to here. The takeoff could actually stand up on its own after that, but then like rain clouds started coming in. We were just trying to hang out really, so we called it there, tarped it up. Then the next day, come back in on my own, check out this grasshopper, big dog, just chilling under the tarp. He's pretty cool. Here's me setting up for the day. I've got 16 slats in a pile, picked them all up in one go. Pretty cool, you know, don't want to flex or anything. Alright, so then I fixed this side leg, pulled it back a bit, so I had like a tongue poke it out of the foot, so shifted that back because I've got to put another foot on the end of it, and it's like a long lever with not much brace, so I had to move it back, make it a nice little tongue join. You can see I'm sort of flipping around the piece of wood trying to find the most parallel straight edge to line it up on. That's pretty important too, and none of this stuff is cut to precision. It's just random bits of wood that someone's thrown together. Oh look, we got Kevin hanging out once again. Epic. When I was joining that extra bit of footing on the end, it like expanded on me, so I had to pull it out, screw it back in, get it tight. That's when I realized like how important the previous day was with two people to like squash it all together. I don't have any like wood clamps or whatever. Having two people made it like all tight and line up good, but on my own I was really struggling to get the two bits of wood made it up nice. The screw would come through and like push this one over before it dug in. From there I sort of figured out a new technique where I screw all the way past the first plank and then hammer that into the next one so it bites, and that made my joints pretty tight. Good little technique to try if you're doing it on your own. I also gave up the pencil at that point and just used a screw as my pencil to mark stuff out, just scoring the wood basically. So the back legs, the tallest ones, I'll just sort of work out the best use of my wood. Maximum length is that long with the pallet. Got that all lined up. The two bits I was joining were right on top of each other. No, they were right like that, beside each other, offset perfectly. That meant that the leg is actually on an angle like this, like the left side on the top, but it's the right side on the bottom. But that like squashed in pretty good, worked alright, pretty happy with that. Like you can't even tell it's on a diagonal. Then I put a middle leg as well, because that whole back foot is like its own piece, so it needed two legs to hold it. Eyeballed the last sort of area for those, trying to get that angle good. These ones went like perpendicular, whereas the top ones were like optimal diagonal. Yeah, heaps of leftover on the perpendiculars to cut off. Here's a little close-up of me pulling nails out of the blocks that are used in the pallets. Some pretty rough pallet builders out there. This one had like 20 different nails in it from the nail gun. God, just missed a couple times and just hammered it with nails. He's done his job, made a pallet, but it's a bit shit for me trying to reuse a pallet, pull all these nails out of it for no reason. You know, a good pallet is just 4 nails in a little square. Then you can see me sort of lining up this slat. It's like just a little bit too long, so I was getting it even using the feeler gauge. Doesn't matter if it's off to one side, but try and make it even. As I was doing that, I was actually sitting down on the ramp lining it up, which was nice and relaxing, you know. been bending over for like an hour or two. Always good to find a place where you can sit down and work just for a little break. And then Kevin come over and chilled with me. He was eating some black sapote on the ground. I was making my backyard ramp, you know, a little bit of chill hangout time with the bush turkey. Then yeah, just trim the little bits off, the legs a little bit of extra. You can see me using my safety squints in that bit, just wood chips going in my face. Then the final brace at the back, setting that up, use the old shucker gauge to get the length right on each side. That's a pretty important trick for you DIY guys. Practice the shucker gauge. Yeah, stoked. That's it. That's the ramp built in one piece. Really proud of how solid it turned out and like how nice it was. Yeah, awesome looking ramp. At that point I was pretty happy with myself. I thought, you know, I could just pedal into this and test it right now, so I tried to make like a little footing for it. Bad idea, you know, using little pavers. I don't know what I was thinking, but that's gone in the next episode. All those bricks and shit I've got down the bottom here. Alright, so that's it. That's how you make a sketchy DIY ramp out of free wood. Used a tape measure twice and I cut 106 times or something like that. Go for it, you know, it'll turn out fine. And if it's a bit sketchy, just patch it up after that. You know, you can always repair your DIY job. Here's a picture of like some of the screws I used. These 6G 45s with like the plasterboard cutting tip on the top work really well for this. All the pallets are like pretty soft, so they were the ones where I was screwing through, and then that plasterboard like flute, the drill bit on the end, I could hammer that in. They were like perfect length for 2 slats wide. They would poke out the back a little bit, but they're all on the non-contact side of the ramp. So now that you've seen me assemble that whole ramp, I can show you what's under this tarp. As I said earlier, I'll show you how this patchwork radius works, because it's like pretty sketchy but like actually solid. So this is like you can see there my bits of reinforcement. There's only 2 bits needed, but there's like 1, 2, 3, 4 bits on that side, probably 5 on the other side. Let's get over here and show you. There's like the gap I was talking about. So some of these are, that's probably the biggest one right there, massive gap on it. That top piece, you can see that's the edge of my plank that I found on the road, and then I've like tapered it around from there. There's like one of the wedges I put in under here. Knock that wedge in just to make the angle all meet up and nice circular. But yeah, that's how they're joined, just bits like that. Same on this side, another wedge in there. See that big Donny? Yeah, so yeah, so that's it for the ramp build. Thanks for watching. Once again, same time next week, tune in. Pretty much going to be finished next episode, I think. I think it'll be the same episode where I test it, basically. It might be, don't know yet. Hope you learned a few tips and tricks on woodwork from this video. Hope it gets you stoked to go out riding, or stoked to stay home and ride as well. That's what you could be doing, staying home and ride. So yeah, if you like what I'm doing and you're enjoying it, you know what to do. Yeah, alright, see you next time.